guys, I am Dr. McDowell back again this week with another episode of Black Women, Sex, and. Last week was kind of fun, but this week we're getting kind of serious talking about Black women, sex, and marriage. Why are we the last married and the first divorced? Why do we still have a list of things that we don't do sexually? Are we having good sex? Do we want to even be married? And what are we teaching some of our girls about what they should do? Got a fun guest today and some stats that we're going to talk about to kind of get your wheels turning. So stay tuned and stay in the comments.
The reality of every situation is every man will cheat on you. No one gets 100% of nothing.
Mother and her love philosophy. She making me hate my boyfriend before I even get him. Damn. Just because she on her third husband and the first two cheated, don't mean that's my story, right?
Jamie, come downstairs. Your mama wants to talk to you.
Here I come, Mama.
Tell mama about that little boy who dropped you off yesterday.
Oh my God. Is that why you screamed for me to come down here?
Yes, it is. High school is where the relationship foolishness starts. All that mess about going together. Where the hell you going?
Stop laughing, Mama. Don't nobody say go together no more.
Well, whatever you doing, make sure your options are open. You've been with that boy since you were in 8th grade and you're a senior. You're too young to be serious.
What you mean my options? You're encouraging me to have multiple boyfriends?
Yes, I absolutely am. Everybody needs multiple everything, especially a teenage girl. High school is the first layer of devastation, with a lifetime of devastation to come if all your eggs are in one basket and all your attention is focused on one person.
Isn't that love? Someone having all of your attention?
Absolutely not, girl. Anybody having all of anything means they can take it all away. Never forget that.
What are you saying?
Jamie, you can like whoever you want, even fall in love. The person you should be the most in love with is yourself. Give 50% to yourself, spread the other 50% among family and men as you see fit. You see, women give over 100% of themselves to everything, leaving nothing for themselves. Have you ever seen an older couple where the man looks good, aged well, has great teeth, is well groomed, and doesn't seem to have a lot of weight gain? Then you glance at his wife. She looks like the hired help.
Ma, I hate to admit it, but I have.
Exactly. She gave over 100% to him and probably their kids. Meanwhile, he maintained his happiness, which is reflected in how well he aged. I'm not saying don't love. I'm not saying to get married. I am saying always keep your options open. Dance a little, flirt a little, allow your ego to be stroked. If you want to go further, go further. It's your one life to live. I know you judge me for all my divorces and dating, but I have lived a happy life. When I was unhappy, I was done. Each time I left one, I was happier than the last. The cheating did piss me off, but I was not devastated.
What's the difference?
Honey, devastated is when you find out he was cheating and you go into a rage that converts into sadness and depression, then transitions into bitter. Bitter is like a shit-coated honey bun glaze that covers your next relationship. I didn't go into either phase because I had options. There was always another plan or another card to play that gave me security and satisfaction.
Why bother, Mom? Why commit? Why marry?
To try, honey. To pledge your allegiance to someone until you can't anymore. It might last a lifetime. It might not. In the meantime, do what makes you happy to avoid looking like the help.
So if you missed last week's episode, please tune in and check it out. We were talking absolute craziness every single week. Shout out to my special guest that came to hang out with me. But as I said, today we're talking about Black women, sex, and marriage. And I know it seems like something that we should all pretty much have down pat, or is it down packed? I don't know. That's still up for debate. But why is it that we are not getting married or we are getting divorced ever so quickly? I know the numbers continue to go up. I think now we're at about 83% in the divorce rate, which is insanity. But as I talk to Black women, and even when we talked about some of the nuances in my book as it relates to us and marriage, it's really shocking, but I'm really not surprised. We have a lot of barriers still up from religion, from our culture, from our families that seem to quote unquote make us unbearable in a way. Are we controlling? Are we too independent? Do we not know how to submit? That word has been thrown out a lot. A lot of you gave Fantasia a lot of shade when she mentioned that she submitted to her husband. And I mean, submission is one of those interesting words that we kind of shy away from, unfortunately, because we want a certain type of man to tell us what to do. Shout out to my sis Jill Scott. She did an interview with Charlemagne on the Breakfast Club, and she looked at the camera and she told him, if you can't tell me what to do, don't tell me what to do. And that really poked me because I was thinking, is she speaking for all Black women that really want to be told what to do, really want to submit if you know how to do it? But are we making ourselves approachable? I've heard several times, don't call me sweetheart. Don't say, hey, bae, or hey, sweetie. And I'm wondering, what if he calls his mom and his sister and his aunts sweetheart? And that's just his term of endearment for women that he approaches. Are we teachable as Black women? Do we know everything about everything because we've been forced to be mothers and doctors and maids and cooks? Some of us since elementary school, and we don't know how to turn it off. So today we have the opportunity to talk to a wife to really see if there's any insight that she can give us, if there's any tips that she can give us. And of course, we're going to get into the sex of it all. I have talked to, if I have to throw a number out, at least 150 Black wives who have a lot of different tips, but a lot of different sexual barriers. But then when I talk to those old school wives, they say there are no sexual barriers. If that's your husband, you don't have a list of things that you don't do, ideas that you don't want to receive, things that you don't want to try. Because the funny thing is, when it comes to men, and I would love to stand corrected, if they say that they want to do it and you don't do it, they don't automatically not want to do it. So one of the chapters in the book talks about side chicks and why they're considered side chicks and how they fall into the mistress role or the well-kept side piece role. Is there a void there that you're not filling because you became a wife and you decided, hey, I made it, so I don't have to do this or I don't have to do that? And if we're having sex forever, I mean, how long is that? How long is that for the same position, the same spacing, the same itinerary, the same agenda? Missionary from the bag. I look at you, you look at me. We're in the bedroom. Turn the lights off. I have to be waxed. I have to be bathed. And I have to, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So we're talking a lot today about scratching stuff off your list, keeping that husband if you want one, and if you don't want one, being okay with the options that you have. We're talking a lot about those options. We're talking a lot about empowering our girls to say, do I even want to be a wife? What does that even look like? And is that something that I have to sign up for, like it's on my bucket list of life? So when my girl comes here, she's going to give us some insight and a little bit of top secret classified stuff to keep us married if that's what we want. Tell us how to get out of it if that's what we don't want. Or, leave it all alone completely. It's totally up to you though. Let's chat. So I told you today was all about Black women's sex and marriage. And I admire a lot of people. Well, not really, but I really, really, really admire my girl, Shantae Sykes. And she's coming to hang out with us today to give us as much tea with, I don't know, a little cognac in it about marriage and sex. So I think she's on her way in, Shantae. Hey! Yeah. Thank you so much for hanging out. Before I start asking you a million questions, because I'm a baby in this marriage world, I've only been married 7 years. Tell us who you are and how long you've been married and a little bit about you and your husband.
All right. My name is Shantae Sykes. My husband is Jesse Sykes. We've been married 22 years.
Ooh.
Been together 29 years. He came into my life when my daughter was 1.
Okay.
And that's Daddy. That's Daddy. Even though she had a father, but we became friends first. That's my boy, We kick it, we friends first, beyond anything, we're friends.
So that's interesting. So I think a lot of times Black women friend zone the friend early on, maybe in high school, and then you backtrack and you're thinking, I missed out, So you said that you guys were together. You've been together almost 30 years just across the board.
Correct.
Because I like to, those years do count. They try to say that they don't, but they do count.
They count.
So do you think it's okay to take it up? And how do you know when to not mess up a friendship? Because we hear that a lot and kind of miss out on husbands.
I grew up with a lot of male friends.
Oh, okay.
I was a tomboy. So even though there were girls, we would play rope and all that, but we grew up with a block of guys, and they were very protective of us. So they were our friends. They never tried to cross the line. They were our brothers, and it was that was 2 blocks.
Okay.
So then in high school, I had female friends, but I just vibe with guys. I could kick it with anybody. So I was just like, I don't have to I went to all girls school too. So
I tried that for 1 year. Shout out to Maria. And then I knew that I needed men to survive, and then became a Mustang.
Yeah. I begged. Like my parents weren't going.
Oh.
So I even tried to get kicked out, but it didn't work. Anyway, so even in my relationships as an adult, most of my relationships I have male friends.
Okay.
My best friend, her husband and I are best friends. Like when they first got married, he and I could go out and kick it, and it was no big deal for her.
Can you still do that now? So that's a interesting nuance. When I go back to the rules and regulations of marriage, a lot of married women feel like if we're married, those female friends, those sisters, they're not allowed to do certain things. You're not allowed to hang out separately. Do you think that's healthy?
I think it's healthier because if your friend and you have that relationship where you trust one another, and I know it's probably been tried and tested, and apparently I passed the test because there were some issues and you don't go back but I checked him. You know what I mean?
Right.
On the spot, right then and there, let them know
this ain't that.
When you see me, you see her.
Got it.
Type thing, So you can't do that. And she respected that because at first she was like, well, why you didn't I didn't have to. I was there as your proxy.
So your husband can have female friends and you can have male friends. No issue. We set the respect in the beginning. So what do you say to wives who have those rules? Does it prevent anything?
Nope.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Got it.
Your whole goal and purpose is to make sure that you have an understanding.
Okay.
You got to be able to communicate.
Okay.
With him and I being friends, we're able to communicate. I can say what I don't like or what I don't want. Not in everything, though.
But not in everything. So I'm glad that you gave me that caveat. Because sometimes, as women of color, we still protect.
Yes.
And in our protection, we fluff certain things, specifically sexually, because we don't necessarily, or we haven't been taught the polite way to say this is trash.
Yes.
Yes. So, or to say, maybe we need to take a class, what is your advice if we're in a situation we're married, because the show is about sex and we get to the sex part and it's year 3 and it's the same.
That one, and it is so funny that is always an issue. No matter what kind of relationship you have outside of the intimacy, it's an issue. Even if a woman is as aggressive or submissive or whatever he needs her to be, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to make it perfect. My personal experience is I'm not aggressive enough, or I don't say anything when time goes by and nothing has happened. And then I'm like, well, let's not talk about it. Let's just do it. Why we got to talk about it? Oh. But then in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I didn't like that, but I won't say anything because I'm protecting his ego.
Okay. So I think what's interesting in our household and with a lot of other wives that I've spoken with is anything that we can add humor to or make a game out of, we can maybe have a serious moment in a very playful way. So there are a lot of games out there in the different toy stores and, different websites where you can, roll dice and it tells you what position to get in. And you can kind of say, well, I like this or I don't like that, or have a lot of what if conversations. What if I was to try this? Or porn. You and your husband watch porn?
He does.
Okay, you don't watch porn.
No.
Okay.
I've watched it, but I'm like, okay, so what? You know I can't do that.
What?
Right? And he just that's not even the point.
Oh.
But that was early on. I mean, I can look back and honestly say that, I was approved.
Okay.
But I was approved because I was raised to be approved.
It all goes back to that.
It goes back to, the way I was taught, the way I was raised. The men in my life, no. Sex, don't do that. And if he come around, I'm chasing him away. Even in my uncles and my cousins, I was always overprotected by the men. So it's like, shut all that down. So
do you feel that with our girls now, if we tell them earlier that they don't have to be prudish, that maybe they can explore different things, that maybe they will be more open when they get husbands if they want husbands?
most definitely.
Because you have a daughter.
Yes.
How did that go?
I started out telling her that this is okay.
Okay.
It's okay. This is natural. This is life. Let's talk about it. Because actually, she came to me at 4. She was in daycare. And she came home and she said, what's sex?
Just straight like that?
Yeah. And I was just like,
ooh.
So I called my mother because she didn't really talk to me. We had a book, I was like, okay, I have to ask you a question. I need your assistance. I don't know what this book is, but she's 4. Do I got to read it to her or whatever? She said, just tell her the truth.
Shantae, that's a running thing. Nobody talked to me. We had and you fill in the blank, right? So I commend you for not passing that down.
Yeah.
And I love the assertion of a 4-year-old little black girl. Like, hey, tell me what's what.
Yeah.
Right? But what would you say if there is a secret as you move into the 10th year and the 15th year and the 20th year sexually to keep it spicy if you know that you were approved? How do you get over that hump to, keep your marriage?
Trust him. Trust him to take me where I need to go to please him and myself. You have to trust him.
I love that. Is there any sacrifice in that trust?
Oh, yes,
sexually or with
definitely.
your body?
Because if you're approved, certain things you're just like, it's too much. Right? But you gotta just trust him. If he loves you, he's gonna take care of you in that area too.
Oh, I like that.
There's security there too.
And do you feel that once you guys develop that trust and you have that experience, you're closer afterwards?
Yes. Most definitely, yeah.
And then you can take it up a level?
You can take it up a level.
So what do you say to the wives that are adamant about their list? And I'm about to just dig into it. I've heard no anal. I've heard no, voyeurism, meaning we're not doing anything anybody can watch. We're not doing anything outside of the bedroom. I'm totally against threesomes. I don't do all of that. And the list goes on and on and on. And it takes you back to like your top 5, approved sexual positions and experiences. What do you think, or do you think those wives are taking a risk with those lists?
No, because at the same token, if he loves you and there's a compromise.
Okay.
There should be a compromise, even in your sexual intimacy. There should be a compromise. If she's adamant about this one thing but willing to sacrifice and do this, then he should be willing to sacrifice and adamant with her, balance. It should be some balance. And that comes by sitting down and talking about it. I mean, some things you may say, I'm not going to do it, but then if you decide to try it, then you make a decision after you did it. It's like, I don't like that,
so
or
it's,
did
it's
like
worth
that.
a try.
Sometimes some things are worth a try.
So it's almost like you taking a cooking class, you learning this new recipe, and him wanting the chicken that you've been making for 17 years. And won't even give your new recipe that you just learned from a Michelin star chef even. He just refuses to taste it because it's not your regular fried chicken or your living onions on Wednesdays. I mean, not to make light of it, but it's
Yeah, but-
just that insulting almost if you don't do that. Interesting concept. So what do you think about if there's a situation where, hey, we've had the communication, you still don't like it, it's something I'm really, really into, how am I supposed to fill this void? What do you feel about wives leaving different voids, or even husbands leaving different voids and opening up opportunities for other people? I'm gonna have to take a sip on that.
Yeah, right. I'm like, wait a
now
minute.
we're talking about other
It's gonna get a little
people.
deep here.
Because we're talking forever. I mean,
Because it happens. It happens. You will leave a void. And unfortunately, it does leave room for venturing out.
right.
And besides money and communication, sexual intimacy is like the number one thing that ruins marriages.
Yeah.
You know, and when they venture out and you try to fit, because first thing a woman does is, what did I do? Why wasn't I good enough? You know, and I've had this notion that men will cheat regardless because of what I've seen.
Right.
I've seen the best husbands and the most perfect marriages, no matter what, they still cheat. And I was like, she was such a perfect wife, you know? Even in my peers, she had sex with him.
She did
She
everything
took
she was
care
supposed
of
to
him.
do.
She picked the doggone onions out his string beans because he
Period.
didn't like them. And he still had the nerve to cheat on her. But then in my mind, I'm like, I have yet to see a faithful man, honestly. So do I accept that?
Does that mean women are better at
And
cheating?
does that mean?
We're not gonna throw this.
Because I was gonna flip it.
Right.
I'm gonna flip it because
Right.
women do it too. We're just
Absolutely.
better at it. We're just better at it.
So, I think that that's an interesting way of thinking, because there's also a chapter in the book that says, hey, men are going to cheat regardless. People are going to cheat regardless. Do you think that Black women are ever given permission to possibly be polygamous or polyamorous? Because we only learn about monogamy. Right. All we know is faithfulness and fidelity.
And we can't even go back. We won't even go back to our own history.
No.
That's not what. But that's another subject.
That is.
You know, that's another subject.
But honey, they're going to put it
But
in the
yeah,
comments.
gonna,
Somebody's going to agree with exactly what you're saying. But when I'm with my students, shout out to the Paul Demons, it's very interesting when we start to study polygamy and polyamory, and they're like, no one told me, that I even had this as an option. And then when we have celebrities like, I remember Monique, they really, drug her through the mud when she said that her and her husband had decided to have an open marriage. But I was thinking they may be married forever, because it takes some really strong people to say that. So what's the ticket? What's the mantra or rule to live by? First, with sex and marriage, with dealing with the same person indefinitely. What is the go-to when you feel like, listen, it's been the same? You said communication.
Communication is one. And then like trying something different. Just saying, you know what? Let me throw caution to the wind.
Yeah.
It either work or it won't. And after being married for 22 years, the thing with us now is, I used to not say nothing. I just be like, okay, I'm just
So
gonna,
say,
tell
me.
I'm just gonna roll with the punches, and we ain't gotta talk about it. I'll just, do what he want me to do, and then I could be okay. Then I started thinking to myself, but then that kind of feels like rape, maybe. Then I was like,
Because
but then
I'm
again,
just quietly taking
because
it.
I'm quietly taking
Wow.
it. But I don't ever want to think that my husband is raping me.
Right.
So that can't be it. And it just went through so many changes and stages, and it was driving him crazy.
Right.
Because he's like,
what are we supposed to do?
what is the problem? It's just sex. We was having sex before we got married. That's another thing too.
One. Do it before you get married.
People have sex before they get married. Then when they get married, then you know how the men say, we got married. She just stopped doing. You did it when you was together, just dating. So why don't you finish it when you're married?
That's the thing. But I was poking at the notion that a lot of Black women are raised to not have sex before
that's
they get
true.
married, and they're reading books and taking classes that are telling them to hold out. In no way are we telling you exactly what to do, but I don't think that we're being steered in a realistic direction with the rules. So do you feel that you can have a successful, and this is just our personal opinion, marriage not having sex at all before you get married?
I don't think so.
Because it matters.
It matters.
Yeah.
It matters.
Yeah, sex and intimacy and foreplay,
that is
all in
very
alignment.
important. And you don't want to get in a marriage and you honor marriage, and then that part is not where it's supposed to be, or where you want it to be, or you didn't even get a chance to test it out first, with lack of better words. And then you're like, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
So where do you learn? It takes us back to culture and takes us back to our home base, our aunts and big cousins and grandmothers. How do you learn how to be a wife?
You have to learn the person you're with first. Because I've always said to him, my goal is to make you happy and your goal is to make me happy. I'm not supposed to worry about myself and you're not supposed to worry about yourself. So if you take care of one another like that, then that's the ticket.
So cut other stuff and
other people out.
Even your kids sometimes.
Your kids, yes, definitely. And I had to learn that early. My mother did teach me that. Because I was putting my kids first. She said, that's not the hierarchy of the home.
That husband is first.
That husband is first. Then your children.
Do you think Black women grasp the husband is first?
No, they don't. They don't.
Is it money? Is it business? Because all of us are,
it could be all of the above. All of the above. And and we've been messed up for a long time. And it's not even, it's partially our fault because now that we know better, we should be doing better.
Right.
But we didn't know any better. You know what I mean? Being a single mother is nothing new for us.
Right.
They took our husbands away from us a long time ago. So we had to be those strong women to stand firm and I got this.
So you're saying, why are we holding on to that story?
Let it
now?
go. Let it go. Lift our Black men up so they can be in their rightful position. If we keep dogging them, they got the world dogging them.
So what do you think? I love that point. What do you think? It's a lot of memes. So we're just getting past the pandemic, and a lot of people have been stuck in the house and idle, and a lot of posting from I'm gonna say majority of my followers are women of color. God, send me a man that's 6 feet tall and successful and loyal. If the Lord would only or the memes that are, and I'm gonna use a fun time, thirsty. It's like husband seeking. It's like I'm so lonely. When you talk to a single woman, what do you say about their hunt or the need? Because it's a trend now. Like, I got to get a husband, like I got to get a Chanel.
Well, you're praying to God, and if that's what you believe, you know he's going to bring you your man, right? So sit still. Because as long as you're anxious and you going out, because when you keep saying, I want this, you taking his position. So he's like, okay, well, you got it. You don't need me. What you calling me for?
Sit still.
Sit still. This whole pandemic was for us to sit still. Anything that we prayed for was being fixed right now because everybody was all over the place. He wanted us to sit still for a minute. He's the only one that could shut the whole world down.
Absolutely.
Even with relationship, if you want a man or you want a husband, sit still.
So do you agree in that essence with us sitting still, we should wait for them or should we hunt?
I don't think we should hunt. I mean, we can put our sin out there.
We don't have
but we don't have to hunt. We can just stroll past and wave our scent and keep it moving. If it's the right scent, he's going to come and get it.
I love it. I love it. So last question. Why are we still upset when they go with white women? Because we have, I love my husband and I'm still feeling away every time. I've been watching The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, and my first thing, every basketball player that comes up, which one of them got white wives?
Yep. We're upset because we carried you. We birthed you. We took a lot of crap for you, even, and yeah, we take it out on you, but vice versa,
Yeah.
And how dare you, just say she's better than me. That's why we feel like that. And we got to get over that too. Because just like we want to let go of our past, let go of our past, we've got to allow them to let go of theirs, because not all of them are like that,
I like that. They allow them to let go of their past.
Yeah.
Meet them at face value.
Yeah, because this world will never be at peace until we can learn to let go of the past and allow each other to grow and forgive. And then pick up and start anew.
So forgiveness, letting go of the past, open communication, first with yourself. So give yourself permission as a single woman. If your single story is having various experiences in the country, out the country, with somebody in a different race, somebody old, somebody young, you're building up your life lessons, right? And don't feel guilty about it.
Right.
And then when you find someone, tell them the truth about what you're into
and who
you are.
But while you're sitting still, you should be learning who you are too. Because some of us don't know who we really are.
One of our episodes was about masturbation.
Some of us don't even know who we are.
And learning your body and what you like. And that goes along with who you are.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You dropped some jewels on us today, especially on the baby wife over here. I think it takes work, and I commend you and your husband for riding this thing out and being so cute and looking and feeling like sex, because y'all still doing some stuff. I feel it every time I'm around you. I love it. I know he's going to. I'm going to see him in the comments like, oh. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we're going to have some goodies for you, and you gave us shoes and legs and bracelets, and I'm excited. So drop in the comments and let Shantae know what you thought about our conversation. Do you agree with us? Did we just piss you off? Did you just learn something? I don't know. But we appreciate you tuning in. See you next week. So I like to wrap these up with letting you know a few of my thoughts as it relates to our last conversation. And see, the thing is, according to not just me and a lot of wives and Shantae, you have to sit still. You have to sit still and not only listen to what's within you, but listen to your own body. You should know exactly what it is you want, and you don't have to make a lot of statements. You don't have to make a lot of posts. And what I got from it, it doesn't have to be hard. It's work. Relationships are work. Marriages are work. But you don't have to pretend to like things and not like things and do things and not do things. You communicate what it is that you like, and you give your partner the opportunity to change their mind and like new things and try new things. If you go in it with barriers, and it's interesting that we like to call our standards barriers or back and forth, but you're really just limiting yourself for something that's being created specifically for you. So I would say the takeaway from today, and you can argue me down, I'm here for it. Sit down somewhere. It's okay if you don't want to be a wife. It's okay if you don't want to be a mom. It's okay if you have to try it multiple times because things change. As Black women, we weren't given a manual to a lot of stuff, and we were thrown into things, figuring out things the best way we could. So apologize to yourself, forgive yourself, and do whatever you want to do. And whoever you want to do as you're figuring things out. But according to Shantae, honey, once you get that husband, he shouldn't need anything, and you shouldn't need anything. And if it feels like you do, dust yourself off and try again. That's what I got. Until next time, bye.